Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Dare Me. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Literally picking up where last week's episode left off. Now, you see Addie just silent standing there, and Colette's the one walking around kind of explaining things of basically saying that she found him like that, and Addie's just and Colette's like, I didn't touch the butt, I didn't touch anything. Addie, you can't touch anything. And Addie walks over and just kind of like he did this to himself, and she steps on something, she feels it, and she's like, holy shit, those are his teeth, and fell back. That right there is kind of like, I'm no expert in suicide, but I'm like, isn't that a little suspicious that his teeth would be? I mean, I guess because of the positioning of the body and stuff like that, I guess it just seemed interesting. I guess if his mouth wasn't closed and the gun was in front of his teeth, I don't know, but that's why I'm just like, why would his teeth be there? I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm just not catching the logistics of it. I mean, there's going to be an investigation later, but the whole point is like Addie kind of steps in the blood. She ended up dropping her phone in the blood, and obviously Colette's like, no, we can't be here. We can't say we were here. Cleans the blood off of Addie's shoes, kind of cleans up the sink with bleach and stuff like that too. And it's like, Addie's like, so we're going to call 911. She's like, no, we can't let anyone know we were here. I'm like, she's like, what? No, we found the body. We just got to tell people. But for her, it's like, people knowing about Will would have to explain why they're there, and basically her entire life will blow up. It's like, because it's a situation, even if Colette was like, can you keep this quiet about my affair? It still could, she'd be brought in for questioning. The police would show up and everything. It turned into a whole complicated thing. And because Colette's so desperate about keeping her secret, she's kind of leaving Will there. Which is super messed up, because you can make the argument, it kind of feeds into, what did Will say? He said, do you even see me? Do I even exist to you? And for her to kind of basically leave him like that. Because there's no guarantee. She's like, someone would have found his body. It's like, there's no telling how long it normally would have taken anyone to ultimately find his body. But, that's the sad thing. He'd be left like that. And obviously they're driving along, and Addie's still just she's still processing all of it. And that's the most messed up thing about it. Colette's the adult in this situation. She brought a teenager into this. That's super messed up, just kind of because she didn't have anyone. She ends up talking about it later on. Oh, I didn't have anyone else to turn to. She was like, you're my only friend. You're my friend, Addie. You're the only friend I ever had. And, it's once again, it's just Colette, she was looking for an escape from her life, and it turns out Will isn't the only escape. Addie's an escape for her as well. So it's like, oh, jeez. And obviously the whole thing is haunting Addie, because it's just kind of we left him there, because even Colette was kind of getting where it's like, whoa, who are you texting? It's like, no, it's the group chat, group text chain, just a couple texts, it doesn't matter. You can tell, because I think we find out about it later, but I think Colette was so paranoid, she's thinking that Addie's so tight with the squad and everything. The thing is, she doesn't know is Colette's the most important person to her right now, because she's jeopardizing every relationship she's ever had, that including her longtime friendship, the complicated relationship she has with Beth, compromising that because of you, because she believes in you, she worships you, and downright, I'd say she's downright loves you, which is, but Colette doesn't realize that. But so she was thinking oh, these girls are chatty, so it's they could have, she could have told someone else, but it's no, because Addie knows at this point in time it probably would get Colette in trouble, and she would never do anything that would put Colette in danger or trouble. So, but Addie's haunted by it. She leaves her shoes at school. Yeah, they've been cleaned down, but it's just a constant reminder. She just hides them in her closet. She goes to school, and the girls are hitting her up yo, where were you at? Why didn't you come out with this? She's, yeah, it's we were at the finals and everything. And obviously Michael's oh, you did, oh, you've changed forever, huh? And she was like, wait, what? And it's oh, you go in the finals. Everything just seems so far away to her because of this. Once again, it's it's traumatizing seeing what you've seen. You saw a dead body, and she's being haunted by it the entire episode, because it's oh, these girls killed it. They're bloodthirsty, is kind of what Beth's dad was saying. And even Beth, it's oh, why didn't you text me back? It's I figured you were mad at me. And it's well, yeah, you're right. I am. Who's to say I'm not still mad at you? But she's so caught up in everything that she has no she has no concerns about Beth's situation, and obviously she's out of it. Like she's trying to like take a test or something like that, and she sees Will like ghost outside, and it's a reminder, and just like his dead body kind of looking at her and smiling, and it's all the noises is all becoming too much, and she's trying to breathe and everything, and then like her eyes, like her desk starts flipping. You're like, what the hell? And it's like she like lands hard on her desk. I'm like, did she just pass out? And it's like, I guess like the stress of it all, like I in a way would almost assume, like, I guess because she hasn't been well, because she didn't sleep well, she didn't eat at all, she just couldn't, just because of it. And she ends up talking about that later, but part of me was almost like, was that like a panic attack or something? Like, it seemed like the stress just literally made her just kind of like her body just kind of went almost into shock because of all of it. And Beth's there, like, oh yeah, you should have eat. Like, it's so interesting because Beth is kind of being kind of her little catty self in it, like just kind of like, oh, like kind of just being like, oh yeah, like, oh, I wonder where Coach is. Probably off of Will. They probably broke up, and that's probably why Will's not here today. And Coach is probably, here on the greatest, but sadly most pathetic aspect of her career and everything like that. And Addie's like, yeah, maybe Coach Sarge Will is somewhere else. Like, it's making her uneasy, and even Beth's being like, oh, maybe you should eat some of this cake, and make you feel better. But then she makes this whole point I think was interesting. Like, she had a dream. It's like, yeah, you remember, like, kind of reminiscing about something, which I didn't even talk about, but Addie had that nightmare of, like, she was on a merry-go-round, and Beth was spinning it faster and faster. She's like, I thought you wanted it faster. And so it's basically back to a moment between them, which we got context to later on. So something did happen between Beth and Addie. They ended up kissing. So I guess it's a situation of Addie kept her at a distance. Like, they had that, I guess, like, Addie was like, no, we're just gonna be friends. Like, we don't know what went down, where it's like, it seemed like they were taking a step forward, but then it, like, they stopped, because they haven't had that. I mean, there've been moments, like I said, when they were kind of like, but that's what I'm saying, like, I couldn't tell whether that was something just straight up intimate, because it seemed intimate, but when they were rubbing each other's bodies, just kind of like oils and stuff, and it was like, because like, I was like, oh, I guess the athletic side of things, I'm kind of like, I can understand that being an athletic side of things, but I'm also like, seems pretty damn intimate too. But it's like, I think that those lines kind of blur so much that I think it's hard to say like what's 100% like them kind of treading back to something that was there. Like, it makes you wonder on some level, does Beth kind of resent her a little bit, because it's like, we were there and then you kind of pulled away from me. I don't know. But like I said, that's why like Beth holds Addie so wholeheartedly, because it's like everything else in her life is shit, and then she found Addie, they were so close, and then like for something like that to happen between them, but for things to get intimate, and it's like, it's just kind of like when everything else in her life is terrible, her like I said, Addie's her world. She would never probably say that exactly, but Addie is her world, is her everything. Once again, having someone be your everything is never a good thing, especially as a teenager. The worst possible fucking time of your life to make someone your everything. Once again, I was a teenager. I literally made that same mistake with a significant other when I was like from 15 to 18. I had one particular girlfriend. I made that exact same mistake. So I look at Beth and I see myself in that situation. I'm like, that's how I kind of read it, Nevertheless, I went on a huge tangent. Circling back to it, like, Beth had this dream about, the fact is that her and Addie were looking down at something that was bottomless, and as she kind of slips in, Addie held onto her wrist, and her wrist started bleeding, and Addie let her go. It's like, you always let me go. And Addie was like, why is it that in all your dreams I'm always doing bad stuff? And then Beth was like, guilty conscience. And so, which obviously isn't making Addie's situation any better. Like, obviously, like, when it was time for practice and stuff like that, because it's like, oh, like, because it sucks because Addie's there, and like, obviously the only other person that was with her during this whole situation was Colette, and Colette's not even there, so it makes Addie being here at school alone with this whole situation even worse. But then Colette does show up, and then Addie wants to say something, but it's like, no, Colette's just like acting like everything is status quo, and it's just like that everything's okay, they're running drills and stuff like that. And then Beth is like, Addie, where's your squad shoes? And It's like, oh, and Colette kind of makes a point to draw her to the front, makes her do 50 push-ups with claps because she's not trying to show favoritism. It's like, despite everything they went through, like, Colette's trying to make it seem like everything is okay, and like even Addie's just like, this is making things even worse, because even Beth kind of catches on. You can see the glimpses in her face, like there's something there, like it's almost like, because like Addie was kind of like her wonder kid, like in the sense of like, oh, like she like was all over Addie, but now it's like, oh, you're kind of treating her like we would anyone else. And that's the point, is that thing of like, when you have a favorite and you treat them worse because you're trying to overcompensate for the fact is to show that they're not your favorite, even though they are. Well, Colette and Addie have obviously been through something recently, so she's trying not to kind of show favoritism in that. But Addie shows up later on and is like, we have to talk. Colette was like, I'm not about to, but Addie's like, I'm literally not going to leave until we talk. And she wants to understand like what went down. And Colette talks about the fact is her and talk about some of her and Will's history. The fact of the matter is, he was always, he had a girlfriend at the time, she had guys, and the fact of the matter is, it's like, for her, it was a situation of, when she came back to town, like with this job and everything, there were problems between her and Matt, and she just needed an escape. So it started with a lie. We need milk. She went to go get some milk, and lo and behold, she ran into? She ran into Matt, and Matt said like, oh, why are you so lonely? And she's like, I'm not. And he's like, well, I forgot what she had said that he had said. But the fact of the matter is, she talks about the fact is, he got it right. She was lonely. And for her, it was meant to just be fun, because she was like, the fact is, it was an escape. But she recognizes, at the time, I didn't recognize it was an escape for both of us. But the fact of the matter is, I never asked what he was escaping from. Because she's basically saying, like, I keep saying Matt, because Matt's her husband, but it's also because, once again, the actor who played Will, like, he played Matt, that's what's kind of thrown me for a little bit. Will had issues, life had always been hard for him in what particular ways we never knew, but it's just a culmination of just everything. And I think for her, it's just like she showed up there and she waited, and then she I don't know, because I still feel like there are holes in Colette's story. That's why I'm just kind of like, either she did it herself or I think someone else did it. Because the thing is, I'm going to be upfront with you, I think Kurtz did it. Kurtz had issues with him, and it's just that moment of just like, obviously, like, she was looking at the other soldiers, like she was looking at Kurtz and the other dude, and just seeing them kind of made her think about Will. But the fact of the matter is, like, Kurtz just happened to be looking in her direction like that. I'm like, I don't know, man, I feel like there's something to that, like, because Addie, when they were leaving, looked and she saw someone, but then like Colette was like, no one's there. I'm like, at first I was thinking, was that Beth following her or something like that? But then I'm like, I think that was Kurtz. I think, like I said, like, it's just like the way his face was. I don't know. I think Kurtz straight up killed him and then made it look like a suicide. I don't think it was a straight up suicide. I think Kurtz killed him, confronted him, or whatnot. I mean, that's my immediate thought about it, but I don't know, maybe that'll end up not being the case. I mean, we do also know that they didn't realize it, but there was a camera nearby, so they're on footage being there, because all the police have to do is line it up and like, oh, he died here, and around that same time, you went in and you both came out, but neither one of you said anything, so what were you here doing? Like, that could turn into a whole thing in itself, so you get the feeling that's the direction it's going to go. But, I don't know, man. Like, it's like, for Colette, it's like, I got to do something. I can't just sit here. So her and Addie are in the rain, kind of cartwheeling and, doing, gymnastic, cheer stuff. But in that moment, Addie's thinking about it raining and everything, and it makes her think back to Beth. And I think maybe in those moments like that, she's missing, like, where things, despite how complicated things were, they were way simpler than what they are now. But I guess maybe it's also a reminder of, like, why she is where she is right now. I don't know. But, like, the fact of the matter is, they go inside, and obviously Colette ends up breaking down because it's like, oh my God, like, I miss him. And then, Addie's in bed with her. I'm like, dude, this is nuts, dude. Like, it's definitely crossing lines. I legitimately expected something. I mean, to be fair, like, I don't think Addie's going to do anything just because of, what Colette's going through. But I'm like, I don't know, dude. It's complicated. But then, like I brought up earlier, Colette is like worried about like what if Addie's telling the other girls anything. So she goes to her phone. It's like, well, Addie's mom is a cop, so maybe Addie told her mom something. I was like, no. Maybe she talked to her BFF Beth. No. Talk with any other girl. Oh, no. Seems like the case. And she's like, oh, she's like, good. I thought so. I knew I could trust Addie. And it turns out I was right to trust in her, believe in her. You know, she was a little scared, but now she wholeheartedly knows. No, I can trust Addie. Addie has my back. You know. Which you could also make the argument you are already adult in this situation. Your brain is a lot more fully developed than hers, that you are manipulating her in this, that maybe secretly you do know her admiration and if not, you know, unrequited love towards you, that you can, or, you know, the fact is maybe this can be the moment where you realize like, oh, I can definitely start pushing her to do, you know, like, because she's already gone and done so much for you already. So it's not, I think there's a part of her that brought Addie because you knew that she would do whatever you wanted her to because she always has your back. But also just because legitimately, like I said, which, once again, just the craziness of it all. Like, you're the adult in the situation and you look at Addie as a friend, but like the fact of the matter is, you're not. The fact is that there is supposed to be that separation of, you know, personal and school, but obviously those lines blurred in this case. But it's obviously Will's body does get found. It's also interesting because Beth was outside of, I'm assuming, Colette's place, and then she just kind of ends up texting Addie about they found Will's body. So it's like he was found, like, what, it took like more than a day, like, for them to find a body. So luckily it wasn't too long, but still, it's just kind of like what that necessarily all is. We'll kind of have to, you know, wait to see. But I'm curious. Like, it was a really nice, like just the impact of all this that it had, because obviously it seems like it wrecked Colette. It definitely wrecked Addie a lot more, just because, once again, she's a teenager trying to process it all. It's a little too much, and I'm curious to see what this means kind of going forward, because for her it's like, we basically weathered the storm that was this darkness, you know, and they came out, and, you know, it's like, because of this you kind of forget how bright the world actually is. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode, because things are going to get crazier from here. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.